Welcome to our 21-day meditation program. And thank you so much for joining. Amazing day today. And yesterday we learned about Ho'oponopono practice. How did you all enjoy yesterday's session? And then, any experience to share? We'll open the stage for 2 minutes and then we'll go for our session. Anybody wants to share anything about yesterday's practice? Any questions? Let me see if you can unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah, hi Sheetal ma'am.
Hi,
So
Devi.
knowing about the new thing yesterday, it was kind of relief and um, what do you say? Uh, so basically, when something discomforting is happening, then now we know we can heal ourselves, right? So instead of feeling helpless because of the dependency with the other person, right? Are they ready to resolve the conflict or not? But knowing that you can heal yourself feels that I'm in control more of how I feel, and it feels reassuring and yeah, better overall about this new technique. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Devi. Thank you for sharing that. That is the whole point, and I'm so glad you were able to capture it well and express it well here. So, the moment we give control, then definitely the blame game comes, and then things will come, and things we think that things are happening just because of the other person or events or anything, right? But the moment we take the control, and now we have the control to overcome that. And this is a great practice done by Hawaiian people. Generally they gather in one group and then they sit together and then they do this prayer, like for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it is, like they just keep on saying this prayer. And I have heard many stories that people healed so much, health issues, relationship issues, or money issues, or any job issues, whatever issues they have, right? So they are able to disconnect from that attachment, and then they are able to release everything and able to heal that. And that was the whole purpose. And thank you so much for your sharing, Devi. Thank you. So yes, Sumedha, you can practice anytime, whenever you want. Like, I think it is a good practice, maybe because now we are beginning, right? So it's just like it's important to say, and also it will keep you in the gratitude mode. So that the four prayers are there, right? One is first of all we are saying I'm sorry, and second one is like please forgive me, and third one is thank you, and fourth one is I love you. So everything is involving recognizing and expressing and asking for forgiveness and saying thank you for resolving in that issue, and then I love you, because that way we are sending love to each other. Yeah, thank you, my dear friends. And today we have a guest with us, guest speaker Shiva Pawar. Shiva, you are there?
Hello,
Yes.
guys. Can you see me? Hear me?
Yes, we can see. Yes. Yes, thank you so much, Shiva, for joining. Like, it's really amazing. So, what we are doing in here is like we are practicing meditation for 21 day. We took it as a challenge, and today is a 15th day, and we have only 4 more days to go to complete our challenge. So, during that time, and we are learning new things, practicing meditation, how meditation is helping scientifically, and then we are bringing guest speakers like you to introduce like how meditation helped you, and then if you learned any cool concept which you can share with us. And that was the whole purpose of this program, and thank you so much for joining, and the stage is yours.
Cool, thank you. It's really cool that you guys are doing this session, spreading the knowledge. I think that's very important, especially nowadays. Um, but today, what I kind of want to talk about is manifestation and how meditation helps with manifestation, and kind of removing the stigma with manifestation, and explaining it in hopefully a way that's a little bit more understandable. So, I think there's a lot of scientific reasons for manifestation and why it works. But today, what I want to kind of go over is the mechanisms and just go over the system and kind of how I believe reality works and what I've seen from reality and understood of how it works, and less the details today. So if you guys have any questions about anything that I say, please feel free to ask and I can go more into detail. But basically, there's three main things when it comes to manifestation. It's the observer effect, attention as currency, and then coherence. So the first one is the observer effect, and it essentially states that you are not the reactor, right? You're not somebody who reacts to life happening. You are somebody who observes, right? So all these thoughts you're having, your immediate first reactions, the first thing you want to say back, the responses, those are all just reactions, but in reality, you are actually the observer. So that's the moment where manifestation starts happening. It's when you actually choose to have your own response, right? When you're able to see any scenario or any situation and respond the way you want to respond, not the way you automatically respond, right? There's unconscious action and unconscious responses. And then lots of times when you think for a little bit and you take your time and then you decide that which thought to feed, that's when you can start to choose your responses. And when you start choosing your responses to life, whenever something bad happens, how do you respond? Whenever something good happens, how do you respond? That's the beginning point of manifestation. And I think meditation really helps with that because it puts you in the now and in the present, and it stops you from thinking about everything in the past. It stops you from thinking about everything in the future and allows you to really think like, what is this person saying to me? How am I going to react? What thoughts am I having? Right? And that's the base root of what meditation does. It keeps you more in line with the now. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Yeah. Yeah, so basically it keeps you more in the now and more of what you guys want to be doing, right? The next thing is attention as currency. So consider attention is the most valuable currency you own. In our world today, your focus is very usually fragmented, which means your reality feels fragmented. And meditation is the training ground where you can learn to stop spending your energy on distractions and start investing it into your intentions, right? So, what's very important is that I need to gather my attention and make sure that it's not going to things that aren't benefiting me or aren't benefiting my intentions. So, nowadays, what I mean when I say attention is the most valuable currency is that lots of businesses like Facebook, Instagram, and Google are making hundreds of dollars off of us because of our attention and because of how much time we're giving, right? We're feeding this massive attention industry and it's causing a lot of loss of reality, right? People are being more and more disconnected with what's actually happening. So that's one of the issues that can happen when it comes to giving your attention away to the wrong things. And there's a statistic that says that Google makes about $700 per person that uses Google, which means all the attention you're feeding it, and Google can mean anything. It can mean like any lookups you do, anytime you watch a video on YouTube, or anytime you listen to some music, because Google owns a lot of these things, right? Same with Facebook, same with Instagram. What's happening is they're actually feeding off of your attention and making money off of it. And the number is around $700. And if you use all three platforms, you're giving up about $2,000 worth of value every year just from giving your attention to these guys, right? So meditation, how it helps with attention is very obvious. It forces you to stop giving your attention to different thoughts and different things that are happening, and it forces you to kind of reset your mind and be able to pay attention to one thing at a time. And the last thing is coherence. I believe that the brain and the heart are two separate systems that work in tandem together. It's almost like the masculine and the feminine. But when your mind is still, that's when your heart can kind of start working and your body enters a state called coherence. So you think of thinking and consciousness as like a radio signal. And when you tune that radio signal to certain frequencies, you can be aligned with those frequencies, right? Whether it's really low frequencies that are bad thought or really high frequencies that are great thought, right? So you have this radio box that you can tune, but that static and that clarity is what's coherence, right? How close you are to that exact FM number. If you're, suppose, FM 99.7 and you're just a little bit below it, you'll hear this fuzzy radio signal, right? That's a lack of clarity. So what you want to do is kind of tune to that exact frequency by creating coherence. And the way to do that is to keep your mind still so your heart can tune into that frequency. Any questions so far for the basics? Okay, cool. It seems like there's no questions. I'm going to move on to the next thing, right? Um, the next thing is emotional regulation. So a lot of us are living kind of in default mode because we're emotionally anchored to the past stresses or future anxieties. But what meditation allows you to do is it pulls up those anchors and it gives you space to consciously create whatever you want, right? Whether it's gratitude or joy or whatever it wants that matches the life you want to build, right? So meditation kind of helps you bring awareness to all these negative things that are pulling you down from the past and all of these future things that you're making up, right? All these random scenarios that are also taking up your attention. What meditation does is it kind of cleans that up, right? Another thing is it's a concept called the gap of neutrality, right? What it essentially means is that it creates a gap between when something happens and when you react, right? So in a conversation or if something were to happen to you, right? Suppose you're walking to work and then someone spills a coffee on you, right? That moment is considered a stimuli. It's something that happens to you. And then most people, they'll immediately react, right? They'll feed whatever reaction comes immediately. But with meditation, it creates this thing called a gap. And a gap is where once the coffee's poured on you, you are able to think, okay, how do I want to react to this, right? And you're able to actually genuinely make the decision that is probably the best, right? And some people will react immediately, start yelling, be like, oh my God, I'm going to be late for work. This is bad. And then spread that negative energy to the other person who then also feels that negative energy because now they made a mistake and now it's worse for them. And then now they're going to take that energy and spread it to somebody else, right? So all these things happen without you knowing it. But when you create that gap, you're able to kind of think clearly and think, okay, this person just made a mistake. It's fine. And then you can react to quickly go to the nearest stand and get some water to wipe the to wipe the coffee off your suit, right? Whatever it may be. So that gap is what meditation creates, and it allows you to make decisions and be more conscious when you're doing things, right? Rather than reacting immediately and saying what you want to say or doing what you want to do, it creates a second or two where you're able to bring your reality closer to what you actually want. Another thing is subconscious reprogramming. So as you go deeper and deeper, your brain enters different wave states. And I'm not sure if my mom covered this, but there's states called alpha and theta. And those are essentially the states where your brain is most susceptible to any sort of empowering beliefs or even negative beliefs, right? So a lot of times what happens is these companies like Facebook and Meta, they'll put into their algorithm to kind of subconsciously reprogram you to be addicted to this type of content, right? To be scrolling nonstop because they put you in alpha and theta waves. You can also do this by yourself in meditation. Put yourself in alpha and theta waves and then meditate either through guided meditation or through putting or setting powerful intentions so you can reprogram those subconscious blocks. Um, One more thing that manifestation allows is sort of to understand when you're moving in the right direction. So the world will show you signs and clear messages if you need to keep pushing towards something and if it's really true to your intention. And the thing about intention is it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It just matters that you have clarity and you have a deep emotional tie to that intention, right? So the reason why some of the worst people get lots of power, it's and they're able to manifest whatever reality, it's not because they're good people. It's because there's somebody who has very hard clarity on what they want and they have strong emotional ties to that want, right? Same thing with good people, right? But a lot of times we feel guilty asking for things, right? It's in our nature to not take and take and take, but sometimes it's good to kind of balance yourself out and realize that all that matters is intention and clarity and making sure that you are working towards your goals and not further from them, right? So those are the basics of manifestation and why it's really important to focus your attention, get your time back, and really meditate with the intention of creating this space where you understand that I am not the reactor, I am just the observer, right? These thoughts that are coming into my brain are not created by me, but they're put there so I can pay attention to them, right? Understand them, analyze them, and then choose which thought I want to feed, right? Because when given enough time, you will go through all the thoughts, right? If you are walking to work and in that same scenario, someone pours coffee on you and you don't react for 2 minutes straight, your brain will actually get every single possible thought, angry, happy, sad, mad, in every single reaction stage, right? The more time you give it. What meditation does is that it allows you to go through all these emotions much quicker, right? And realize which emotion you want to feed. So that's the outline of manifestation, and how to put it into your daily practice is to meditate with that intention. Hey, like I want to be able to react how I want. I want to be able to say what I want, and not just what I want, but say things that help get me closer to the reality I want to create. Do things that help me get closer to the reality I want to create, right? So that's why meditation and manifestation go hand in hand. You can do one without the other, but when you do both and you set a strong intention, that's when the yin and yang meet, the masculine and feminine meet, and that's when reality truly is created. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening to my brief explanation. If you guys have any questions, I'd like to open the floor. But if not, we can get continued with the meditation session.
Yeah, thank you, Shiva. So let me, friends, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask. Yes, Devi?
Hey, hi Shiva. It's a
Hi.
great session. I really like the way you simplified
Yeah.
things, right? That's so nice. I did refresh some of my memories too. But yeah, and I totally agree. Like some of those things, like creating the gap, is something I experienced. Like that's one change that I see in myself since I have been doing this meditation, right? So instead of being very reactive, it now becomes like a part of an habit. Whenever something happens, immediately now it's become like a habit to pause and reflect and observe, go into that mode, and then choose the action. So
Yeah.
that does definitely work well. But I
Yeah.
wanted, the question that I wanted to know is like, how do you define manifestation? Like, is it, does it have like limitations, like, or like I can say, can I manifest a way that to stop a war, or that level, or does it only work something that is maybe close to me, like I can only manifest things related to me? Or is it also, in your definition, does it also mean manifesting something completely out of my reach? Or
You mean
yeah,
Yeah.
is in control?
no, uh yeah.
So, I actually, I'd like to answer that in three parts. So first is what is manifestation to me? And I think the core concept of meditation is not letting your external reality determine your internal state, right? So making sure that no matter what happens outside, what you react and what you do comes from inside, right? From within you, right? That's when manifestation truly occurs, right? If there's lots of bad things happening outside, the person who can walk through a war zone with a smile and feel happy, the kid that doesn't have parents or food but still smiles and plays, they're the ones who can truly create whatever reality they want. So that's my core definition of manifestation is basically not letting external reality determine your internal state. That's part one. Part two is kind of like what you said. Can I manifest something huge or something really small, something within my bounds or without my bounds? And I think that's a common, almost sort of illusion that something is far from me or something is close from me or something's larger than me or something's smaller than me. Because um I can get into the science of it, but we kind of live in like a fractal world, right? Where if you go down all the way to the atoms or you go all the way up to galaxies, the structures are very similar, right? You see the same patterns emerging and you see the same kind of things happening. An atom is essentially a nucleus with things surrounding it. The solar system is the sun with things surrounding it. A galaxy is a cluster with things surrounding it. So there's nothing really larger or smaller than you. It's just different expressions, right? So that understanding, I think, helps answer the question where you really can impact anything as large or as small as what you believe you can, right? Because inherently, I think any sort of definition or any sort of belief is limiting in nature, right? If you believe you can change the world, right? That is a strong belief to have. But even that, what is to say you can't change the solar system? What is to say you can't change the galaxy, right? Even believing I could change the whole world is limiting in a sense, right? So my answer to your question is yes, you really can do anything, right? Like you can stop a war if you want, or you can start a war if you want. If you look back in history, right? There are people who have started wars and ended wars, written down in history, other human beings who have done what you are saying, right? So I don't want to say it's impossible because it's been done before. And I don't want to say it's possible either because it's also not been done before. It's completely up to you, the strength of your emotions and the strength of your intention, and how vehemently you hold that belief, right? Um, so that's my answer. Like you can do anything you want as long as you remove the conception that it's bigger than you or that it's smaller than you, it's above you or it's below you. It's it is you at the end of the day, right? So I think that's the main way to kind of understand why, yeah, you're able to affect the world and maybe even stop a war, right? Um, because every human has that capacity, right? If today you nonstop work towards that goal with that intention, there's nothing that would stop you from doing that, right? You can get into politics. Then, if your intention's strong enough, you'll create the right connections. And if your intention's even strong enough, those connections will help you get further and further up in the chain, right? And if your intention's even strong enough and you're able to control other people's energy, right? And you get up to that level, you can keep going, keep going, keep going, right? But you only go as far as your intention and your beliefs let you, right? So that's why people say dream big, right? Believe big, believe in anything, right? And it's not that anything is possible, but it's that anything you put your mind to, anything you put your intention to is possible, right? You just might not know how it will happen. But if you put enough intention, right, 24 hours a day towards something, I genuinely believe anything is possible, right? Um, that's my answer to your question.
Yeah. I mean, one just small follow up is, I mean, in the reality is complex, right? There are many people with many beliefs.
Yeah.
Some are in alignment, right? So, and everyone have various intentions also, right? So, how, like, do you think um, similar people intending similar thing with similar beliefs, if that pool gets larger, then something is going to happen? Like for example, uh, let's take a simpler example. Like you want one of your team to win a match, right, in a competitive, right? And do you think like more people put having that intention with more belief that they are going to win is proportional to the thing happening, or independent of that? Or I'm saying, is there any synergy in the manifestation to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think each of us has the ability to create infinitely, right? But everyone has their own beliefs that limit them to certain levels, right? Um, so the greatest sports people, right, of all time, you could take LeBron James or Tom Brady, right? What happens is there'll be teams where everybody believes to a certain level, but then on this other team, this one player has such a crazy, psychotic, and insane amount of belief in himself that other people will call them delusional, right? They will say that they're crazy. Like, genuinely, if you ask their teammates, they will say that they're crazy because their worldview is very far from reality. But those people are the ones with all the accolades. Those people are the ones with all the trophies and all the big, big accomplishments, right? And I don't think it's because the synergy doesn't exist, right? I believe that when you compile energies, you can get something really great. But every single one of us has the potential of all of us combined within us, right? It's just the limiting beliefs makes it so that it's harder to achieve that, right? So one of the easiest ways is to just add on energies, right? To create a movement with multiple people, right? And that's one way of doing it. But that also requires a strong level of thought and intention, right? To be able to move other people, to create a movement, to convince people that what they're doing is proper, right? What my intention and my goals are true, right? Whatever, if you take a soccer team, it requires just that same level of intention from the coach to spread that energy and spread that vibration to his teammates so that the teammates also start believing it, right? But there's some special cases that from birth, certain sports people, certain people who accomplish things have such a strong mindset and such an unwavering will that it pushes them beyond what most people can recognize, right? So I would say the answer is yes to both, right? You can create synergies and you can create energy, or you could do it within yourself, or you can combine it both and do it within yourself and have other people add on to it, right? That's how you get world-changing movements like Gandhi, right? Where he had such a strong and utter belief that people might say is crazy, right? Like the extreme hunger fasts or the salt marches, right? Those kind of acts and thoughts won't even come to like most people's thoughts, right? But the fact that he had such a strong and almost delusional belief in what he was doing, had a deep energy, and then he also was able to spread that energy to everyone else, right? Even though it didn't make sense, it still ended up working because there was so much energy and so much power piled up on top of each other, right? So that's kind of what it would that's kind of what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Devi. Thank you, Shiva. And there
Mhm.
is another question. Does it help in removing negative thoughts? Or maybe you can give some few tips and examples how to come out of
Yeah.
this fearful mind.
Um, yeah. So I want to reframe negative thoughts, right? You kind of have to remove the idea that there is a negative and there is a positive, right? But it's not about removing negative thoughts. It's about understanding that it's natural for both negative thoughts and positive thoughts to occur, right? You will think really bad things, right? Sometimes if you see like a glass on top of a counter, right? You'll get a thought of if I push it over, it'll break. But it's not about removing the thoughts so that thought never comes to your brain, right? Because you can't control what comes into your brain. But what you can do is control how much you want to feed that thought and how quickly you move on from that thought. And realizing that that thought is not yours. It's something that got created by consciousness and existence and something that we can explain. But now this creation is something you can pay attention to and say, okay, let's move on from this thought, right? Like I will have the thought to push the glass off the counter, but it doesn't mean I have to push the glass off the counter, right? The goal is to move on from the thought and to feed other thoughts, right? Feed thoughts of filling the glass up with water, right? Or just walk away. But the game isn't to remove negative thoughts. It's to acknowledge that they will always be there, right? But it's to feed those negative thoughts less so they become smaller and smaller and smaller over time, right? But they'll never truly go away. Like there's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as absolute purity, right? Because if there's absolute purity, then the definition of purity is no longer true, right? If someone's so good that there's no bad in them, then what really is good about them, right? Like that's kind of what I want to reframe it, right? So don't think about meditation as a practice to erase those thoughts and make sure that the thoughts never come. But think about meditation as a practice to almost parse through these thoughts and to see, process these thoughts and see which ones am I going to put the fire under, which ones am I going to feed wood to, which ones am I going to move on from, ignore. Think that that's some other consciousness, that's some other vibration giving me those thoughts. I don't need to match that frequency. I don't need to match those vibrations because even when you think about it from like radio stations, you can listen to one radio station, but that doesn't mean that all the other radio stations will stop to exist, right? They'll pop up from now and then, right? When you turn the radio on, you'll jump to a random signal. It's your job to retune yourself to the right frequency that you want to be at, right? And to acknowledge that the other frequencies will always exist, right? If you do really good, the negative frequencies are still there. You could always fall into bad. And if you're always in bad, the positive frequencies are always still there, right? So you can always move up the chain. So it's understanding how the reality works and how frequencies work, right? And realizing that everything is always there it's what you choose, right? There's an abundance of options. So that's what I would like to say about removing negative thoughts.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you, Sumita, for that question. Anybody has any questions, my dear friends? One or two questions. Then we can go into meditation. You can unmute yourself and ask if you have. Yes, Shiva. So this is definitely, yeah, Teju, you have question to ask?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm Teju. The thing is that some scenarios sometimes we suddenly feel low,
Mm-hmm.
and sitting for meditation also we can't do that after we get what we wanted, something good only. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. Like a kid, like even though we are very old.
Mm-hmm.
So how to overcome that fear? Like why am I not doing meditation? Like
I
so.
see. Um, let me ask and see if I'm understanding the question properly, right? So it's like when good things are happening, it's very easy to meditate, but then when bad things are happening, it's you're in the moment of negativity and it's hard to
No,
pull.
even when the good thing happened, after
Mhm.
it is done, I'm not meditating, like deviating like a small kid.
Yeah.
And
Um,
any situation, sometimes a regular day, suddenly we'll feel extremely low.
yeah. So I'd like to bring up a concept called pendulums, right? So it's the world is kind of cyclical, right? It'll go back and forth, back and forth. Um, I think it's important to understand that it's not a linear path up, right? When you are moving from a low frequency to a high frequency, it's not just a straight upward line, right? It's a journey where you go up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's important to realize that there's going to be moments where you're going down and there's going to be moments where you're going up, but every time you go down, it's higher and higher. And every time you go up, it's higher and higher, right? As long as you're have that intention of improving your frequency, of improving your thoughts, of improving who you are as a person, and having that knowledge that things will get bad sometimes, but if things get bad, it'll also get good, right? Having that deep understanding removes that pressure from thinking, why is this happening right now? Why is this negative time hard? Why is it really hard to meditate right now, right? Because sometimes your body will push back, but that just means that the next time it pulls, it'll pull you harder, right? And to have that deep understanding helps remove the pressure from life, right? It helps you know that as long as I have the intention of improving, the universe will show me the pathway, right? But anytime you feel down, anytime you skip meditation, it is also a lesson in and of itself, right? Nothing will happen to you that is not meant to happen, right? So if there's a moment where you don't feel like meditating, or something good happens and when it ends, you don't feel like meditating, it's the universe testing you and asking you, hey, is it really the frequency and the external world that is causing you to make these actions? Or is it your internal self that is causing you to make these actions, right? It's kind of like what I said before. It takes time and practice, but removing your internal emotion from the external reality is extremely important to answer that question, right? If you are not phased by what's happening outside, if you know that if good things are happening, bad things are bound to happen, and if bad things are happening, good things are bound to happen, but no matter what happens, my internal state will always be peace, right? That's the thought I will always feed, which is the thought of peace. Then it makes it so that the practice of meditation comes from within, right? You don't meditate to fix problems. You don't meditate out of fear. You don't meditate because you feel like if you don't, you're going to be left behind. You meditate because it's who you are. You meditate because it's coming from within you. And you meditate because you know it's bringing you closer to your intentions, right? And that takes practice. That's really hard. But knowing that that feeling of not wanting to meditate is just a test and it's an exam, right, given to you. And the answer is always just, I need to be clear and know what I want to do, right? Because it's like what I said, it's just thoughts, right? It's the thought of, hey, I don't want to meditate. If you can sit with that thought long enough, you'll understand that that thought is being created by another entity, not you. That entity is trying to pull you away from your reality, right? All you have to do is look at it and tell it, no, I want this reality, right? So sit with those thoughts, really pay attention to them, and you'll see that your greater consciousness will always carry you towards what the right answer is.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Shiva.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
thank you, Tejo. And last question, Shiva, and after that, I will let you go. Mani is asking, sometimes it feels like a self-sabotage mode. Like, how do you help yourself from not feeling this?
Yeah. Um, it's it's separating yourself from yourself almost, right? Truly understanding that like you are not sabotaging yourself. It is a consciousness, a type of frequency that is feeding you these thoughts. You are not aware enough to understand that you are just reacting to these thoughts and believing that that is who you are, believing that you are self-sabotaging, when in reality, what's happening is you're unconsciously accepting these thoughts, unconsciously accepting these actions, whereas you really have the ability to look and separate yourself from the thoughts and feelings and look at them and truly analyze them and see which ones will help me and which ones don't, right? So that's what the practice of meditation helps with, right? Like it does feel like self-sabotage mode. And and what meditation helps you understand is that it's not really yourself, right? Like you're not the one who is sabotaging yourself, right? All you're doing is you're choosing the first thought that comes. That thought is what's sabotaging you, right? That frequency, that consciousness that's pushing these actions is causing you to instantly react. And the reality is kind of smart. It knows what kind of thoughts to give, what kind of people to make them sabotage themselves, right? It knows you very deeply, very personally, right? It almost knows you better than you know yourself. And that's the journey we're all on, right? Is meditating to understand more about ourselves, what kind of thoughts feed us, what kind of area. Some people it's pride, some people it's money, some people it's sleep, some people it's food. What things, right? You have to learn about yourself to see, okay, why am I sabotaging myself, right? Why am I feeding these thoughts and these actions? And what things and actions are these things feeding me, right? So it's more so just sit with yourself, learn about yourself, and like you said, treat yourself like a kid, right? Like treat yourself like you're trying to understand a kid and understand how their personality is like, what kind of things they like, what their favorite ice cream flavor is, right? The more you know about yourself, the less the universe can use, right? The less those negative frequencies can use against you, right? But the less you know about yourself, the less aware you are, the more unconscious you are, the more you just wake up and react to everything, the more the universe can use against you, right? So it's like a constant battle of learning more about yourself, getting deeper and deeper so that you can go further than what the negative emotions can go.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful, Shiva. Thank you so much. And all these questions are great, my dear friends. And also, of course, this is a bit of big subject we try to cover, just like to give the glimpse so that you can, aware that how our thoughts and feelings are creating our reality, and also knowing that whenever you are feeling low, sabotage or what, as per Shiva, that those are just mere thoughts, my dear friends. So, and I really learned, and I really appreciate the word called like, energy, like, your currency is focus. I never heard that.
Yeah, attention is currency. Yeah.
Attention is currency. What an amazing thing, right? So we are losing so much currency on, like, of course, attention is good, but where you are keeping your attention is the key. And thank you so much. It was really informative, and definitely we are looking forward to hear more sessions in a little elaborated way. I know it is like only 20-25 minutes I have given.
Yeah.
And truly appreciate your help coming here and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And thank you so much, Shiva. You want to say something as an ending comment, and then you can leave.
Yeah. Basically that was like very high level. I kind of just spit statements at you guys and I didn't really explain the why behind anything. So if you want the scientific reasonings and the studies done and the objective facts behind all of these premises and principles that I'm bringing up, feel free to either get my contact from my mom or um, just message me directly, and I'll give you like a detailed little breakdown or response on that particular thing and how it really ties into what science is figuring out now, what scientists are learning, and what big questions are still remaining in the fields of metaphysics, science, and quantum physics, right? So, I love discussing that stuff. So feel free to ask me questions, and I'm pretty much an open book.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for offering your help to all of us. Definitely, I'll leave your number here. If anybody wants to contact, they can contact you directly.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shiva. So, friends, we know that how meditation is helping us to become aware, as Shiva said, and with that awareness, we will go into meditation.